Max, intro time.
Hey guys, it's Justin from the future here. I just wanted to go ahead and apologize about the sound quality of this video. My computer recently tried to die, so all my settings are messed up, and I forgot to check the mic before we started filming this. So I'm sorry, but not sorry enough to refilm the video. All right, bye.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tin and Max. My name's Max. That guy over there is Tin, and we are here today to talk about Persona, one of our favorite just franchises in gaming. And we are talking about Persona 6. What do we want out of it? What is the things that we hope that they do? What are the different things we both personally have our own opinions on what we want with it, and we're here to kind of answer some questions and talk about that. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. And yeah, Justin, what are you thinking? Thinking a lot over there.
Yeah. Well, okay. So as you know, Persona 5 is celebrating its 25th year, or Persona in general is celebrating its 25th year anniversary, and they're doing special announcements every month. But a lot of people speculate that this series of announcements will end with the big announcement for Persona 6. Whether or not that happens, don't get your hopes up. Could.
So high. My hopes are so high.
There's supposed to be one of the announcements this month, and I want a Persona 4 port so bad. Just take Persona 3 and Persona 4, bundle them together, and just port it to the PlayStation 4. All right, that's all I need. Anyway, so yeah, we're just gonna talk about Persona 6 because of that. We have some questions we threw together to kind of help focus this video, because if you watch our stuff, you know that we can kind of ramble and get off topic, and this will help negate that, hopefully. So I think we should start with a pretty simple, straightforward one. Max, how would you feel if Persona 6 had the option to choose between a male and a female protagonist at the beginning of the game?
I personally would love it. I think it would be really cool to be able to have the opportunity to honestly have those different relationships and stuff like that with people based off of who you choose. Like, it doesn't, my biggest thing with the Persona games that I just want more options. I want different paths and stuff like that. And so, hopefully by choosing, a different protagonist would make it where you would be able to have different options and different choices. That being said, most games where you choose one or the other, it just is the exact same story. There's nothing that really changes. You just kind of are able to accessorize differently. But hopefully, I mean, I feel like the one that comes to mind is a Pokemon, right? Is right now, or just like you can go and just buy all this stuff. Anyways, but hopefully, if they did it, I would want there to be actually something more than just it changing your skin, if that makes sense. And so I think it would be really cool, but I wouldn't want just oh, hey, basically when you enter your name in Persona 5 and it literally means nothing. But what are your thoughts on it?
I'm very much for it. They have done it before in Persona 3 Portable for the PSP or whatever, and a lot of people like that. What's kind of funny about it though is like the persona for the protagonist, Orpheus, has a girl and a female version based on which one you pick, which is, I don't know, I find that funny. Like, it's the exact same persona except for the girl has like a heart-shaped thing on the back and like long girl hair. I don't know. I think that's funny. I think they should do that. Oh, I had another thing to add. I'll add it to the list. What was I saying? This isn't helping at all so far. Basically I'm for it. I don't necessarily feel the same way as you about having multiple paths. I think the Persona games are long enough as they are, and the thing that drives them is the story, but also like the relationships you're building, and each game has such a massive emphasis on like the thing that makes Persona so unique to me is the building of bonds and like how that affects the gameplay and the story and all that stuff. So like maybe they could just improve on that a little bit, but I'm kind of fine with it how it is. And like Persona, if it's a boy or a girl, if it doesn't really change anything, that's fine. I just think it makes it a little bit more accessible to different people. It'll change things up, and I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
That was a quick one.
That was a good one.
Excuse me. All right, let's do this is another one I've heard some people debate about on Twitter. Most of my Twitter feed is Persona stuff at this point. Um, should the games still focus on high school age students, or should we maybe age up the cast of characters we're dealing with and maybe have some like college age or young adult characters instead?
I personally think we should maybe age up a little bit. And the reason I say that is because it's really awkward sometime in Persona 5 when if you wanted to have a relationship with a teacher, that's kind of weird, you know, a high schooler and a teacher, you know, like that's kind of strange. And a
You
lot
say
of
that like that wasn't the first romance you did in these games.
I did, but it's because I felt bad for her. I did. I felt very bad for her. Her life was horrible. Anyways, I just, I think if you're a young adult, that would be better in the sense of those relationships and it honestly being able to be a little bit more of like a grown-up game. Like, I mean, I think the Futaba, even Confidant, I know so many people love Futaba, and that's kind of weird to me when it's like she's kind of like a little sister and you're in high school. Like that's kind of strange,
like,
like, and so if everyone's young adults and like older, and then even like you can have adults like, the teacher or like Sai or like these different characters that people go crazy about. And you can make it where it would actually make more sense and not be creepy. That's kind of my
even
thought.
like just like freshmen in college. I think like if you just barely age out of high school, that'd be
just
cool.
barely.
I agree. I wouldn't mind that. I think part of the reason they do stay in high school with each of these games is because that's kind of where the franchise started in a lot of ways, was like that kind of thing, and like the school life on like parallel to like the dungeon crawling and the monster fighting and whatever. And also like I think like them not being adults limits a lot of the stuff they can do in a way that helps the story.
Sure.
Like each game has like a new person moving to a new town with a new school and all that stuff, and like Persona 5, if like if the main character was an adult and he assaulted a guy, he would just go to jail.
Right
And like there's like the thing of like I think it also adds like how you have to limit your time a little bit, because like adults have a lot more freedom when it comes to like where and when they can be places and that kind of stuff. So like maybe it would kind of change like that aspect of the game, maybe, but also like I think you could just make it work either way. So like
I mean, college, you could easily do that with college school, like the same thing, or even if it was like they weren't even in college, a job, you know what I mean? Like make it where your character has to choose a job and then that job takes certain days and certain times, stuff. So,
but with like the high school characters, you have to dedicate either one of your daytime or nighttime time slots to working a job if you want that extra money. If character just has a job, not that you ever really need that money.
I was like,
I think either way would be fine if they could just be a little less creepy about it sometimes.
Yes.
This one's another quick one. Do you think it should connect to Persona 5 at all, either in a big or a small way? And let me say what I mean. Like Persona 5 and Persona 4 connect in very small ways. If you go to a certain location with at one point you can get an idol poster, and that idol is a main character from Persona 4. And then like I think Akechi is the second detective prince, because the first detective prince is a Persona 4 character. That's what I mean by like small ways. Like there's little subtle references, but like not outward, like, and here's what I mean by bigger ways. Persona 4 literally has you, for your school trip, go to the location Persona 3 takes place. You even visit the Persona 3 high school. So like that's kind of what I mean by that. And also like in terms of Persona 5, is that even like, would that even make sense if they just do small ways? Because like the Phantom Thieves were a global phenomenon for a little bit. Like I guess if you said it a few years after, maybe the hype's kind of died down, but like most of the world heard of the Phantom Thieves. So can you even really do a subtler kind of thing? You know what I mean? What do you think?
I think you can do essentially so personally, I don't think I would do it in a big way, because every, Persona game is essentially like a newer game. And as much as I love the Persona 5 characters, like I love the Persona 5 characters, like the reason I love them is they were all so new and fresh, and it was great. And so personally, I think having small things would be cool. I understand what you're saying about the Phantom Thieves and stuff, but at the same time, it's like Easter eggs, when you find little Easter eggs in games and you're like, oh, that's so cool. It's like, they don't even have to do anything like a callback as far as in like to it necessarily or have any story like that. But you could find like, a Morgana handkerchief as an Easter egg or something like that. I don't know, but like, I'm just like, for example, it could be really
some Phantom Thief merch.
Yeah, exactly.
That exists in Persona 5.
Yeah, you could literally have a store that was just based off selling Phantom Thief merch or whatever, and that would be hilarious. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh yeah, we came up with this fun idea for Phantom Thieves and something like that. I don't know, but I think it would have to be small like that, personally, in my opinion. But I don't want them to go big. Where
I agree. Each Persona game is really its own story, and it is cool when they cross over, but like for the most part, they are their own individual stories with their own characters. And if they do cross over in big ways, it's in side games and spin-offs and whatever. I do think they have to kind of acknowledge the Phantom Thieves at some point, because like compared to the first, well, okay, I don't know about the first 3 games, but compared to Persona 3 and Persona 4, the Persona 5, like the story affects the country of Japan like in a very public way that the other ones don't. And I think that you can't really just pretend that didn't happen. I mean, I guess you could, but I feel like it'd be a little cheap.
Yeah. Well, hey, let me ask you a question, because you are a little bit more of a Persona expert. So I have a question for you for Persona 6. What theme should the game have? Persona 5, was more changing hearts, reforming society. Persona 4 was seeking truth. And then Persona 3 was kind of more with like facing death. So you tell me.
That was well put. You really summarized those games very well.
I really looked at the question. But that's why I wanted to ask you on that and see what your thoughts were.
It's kind of interesting because like whatever theme the game has will like very obviously greatly affect the story and the characters and the kind of whole vibe of the game. Like with Persona 5 having the Phantom Thieves, like the whole Phantom Thief motif, that's kind of what added to a lot of the style of the game. And that was one of the things I loved about the game. So like what kind of theme could add to that, or like could they use to like continue to have that kind of, because I think one of the things that made Persona 5 so popular was how stylish it was. And I personally, that's one of the things I loved about the game is how freaking cool everything is. So like I don't know, it's one of the things that like the theme is going to be so tied to the game that like without really knowing anything about the game, like what kind of themes it could possibly be, and like where you even take the world at this point, what kind of themes are left after these ones. What do you think? Because I don't have a good answer.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I think you could, in a really weird way, you could totally make, and they're not going to do this, but something you could do is like make it from like the evil side of point of view, like where you're like kind of an evil, like going after good or going after like love or something like that, like for example, the whole game could be like targeting love as like as the theme, and because you as a character were brokenhearted or something like that, you make these confidant relationships of people that are trying to get close to you, and you keep pushing them away all throughout the game, and you're targeting love as like an evil character, and then at the end you change your ways or something like that. I don't know, that just is like a really quick thought.
Interesting you say that. There is a rumor going around, and quick spoiler alert for Persona 5 Royal, there's a rumor going around that there's either, I think people were saying it's Persona 6, but it might also just be a spin-off game about a Persona game where you play as a Ketchy post Persona 5 Royal. And that would probably fall in line with what you're kind of talking about, because he sucks as a person. So,
he's a cool character.
He is a cool character.
Yeah, that's fun. That's very fun.
Yeah, I don't know. In terms of themes, it's kind of really hard to like kind of just pick one. I do think like the idea of something like that tied closely to love and like maybe learning to love could be an interesting theme. It would definitely fit in with like the confidants social link thing.
Mhm.
But like, you know,
Yeah. Well, also as someone who's played multiple games, are there any features from past games that you want to carry over to Persona 6?
baton passes. Because having played Persona 5 first and then going to Persona 4 and Persona 3, I missed baton passes so much.
Uh-huh.
The guns are kind of whatever. It's just kind of another attack you have, and it's another the like different like the different elemental attacks like change up in like every Shin Megami Tensei game. Like sometimes it's curse and bless, sometimes it's light and darkness. Like those are pretty interchangeable. But like baton passes, man, stuff like that needs to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. In terms of actual gameplay from the other games, not. I don't really know. I would like some new additions, and I'm not great enough to like think of any. But like, I think the core gameplay of the Persona games is really good. Like even at playing Persona 5 and then going to the older ones where it's kind of like a more rudimentary version of what you get in Persona 5, it's still a fun time. You
Yeah.
can still like get the advantage on an enemy if you hit them first, kind of thing, kind of like how you ambush them in Persona 5. And I think that's a great mechanic. I think all of them are really good mechanics. They could build on some of them. You know, and yeah, Time Passes is an easy answer for me. What about you?
Yeah. I mean, I think
only one game.
Yeah, but I think the confidant's just building up, right? I think that's a really cool feature, and it makes it where it adds value to growing the relationship, because like something like you said is the Persona games really focus on bonds, right? And building those bonds. So if you could have a game that is even more pronounced in the fact that like they get more powerful, they get different, maybe even different personas, or like it's something happens where they get different move sets that aren't just more powerful of the same move, if that makes sense. I think is something that could be really cool, because with specifically Persona 5 and
Specifically, you're talking about teammates, right? Like not all confidants. Like
more teammates. Yeah, because most of the confidants you get, like you're getting different powers and stuff. Mainly your teammates, obviously, as they get move sets and stuff like that, as you play through and they level up, essentially they're just getting stronger moves or whatever, and that you could make that into more of like a relationship building thing, because it's supposed to be emphasized on bonds that you're creating with them. So yeah, that's kind of my thought.
I don't know if this would ever be the thing that they would do, but it'd be nice if you could teach your confidants, your teammates, specific moves, and like maybe you can limit what moves they can learn, so like you can't like go overboard with it, but like sometimes I want to teach them a move like if they're weak to nuclear or whatever, it'd be nice if you could teach them like null nuke or repel nuke or drain nuke, right? Something like that. Like, because one of the things that's really cool about Persona 5 that I don't really think they did in the other games, don't quote me on that, I can't remember at the moment, was the skill cards and how much you could do with the skill cards in terms of building up your own personas. And I just think a little bit of that should bleed off for your teammates too. That'd be nice.
Be great.
Really make them really strong if you wanted to do that.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Okay. I know you have a strong opinion about this one. Should they ditch the animal mascot?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. It's hard to say because like if it was done properly, it wouldn't be too bad. And I know a lot of people hate on Morgana, but I don't hate Morgana. People get all mad at him for the whole getting mad at Ryuji thing, but they kind of forget that he's like literally a baby. He's existed for all of like 6 months or whatever at that time. So like, yeah, he's a little childish. I don't know what you expect. The thing that makes me kind of dislike them a little bit more is kind of Teddy from Persona 4. And that's not to knock Teddy. I don't necessarily hate Teddy. He does too much. He does. If there were smaller doses of Teddy, it wouldn't be so bad. But he's such a big part of like every Persona 4 thing that it's kind of obnoxious. And he's he does. If you thought the cat puns for Morgana were excessive, Teddy and the bear puns are unbearable. And yes, that one is used multiple times in the game.
I was like,
But
I hope you
I
know
I know what it sounds like, and I don't necessarily hate Teddy. I think he has a decent arc in Persona 4, and he does a lot because he's like your Morgana basically in that game. And he is a cool character and concept. They just kind of go a little bit overboard with some of the more annoying aspects of his personality. So maybe dial it back a little bit. And
Yeah.
the Persona 4 or the Persona 3 mascot, depending on who you ask, is either Igus, which is a robot girl, and she's pretty cool, or a dog with a persona. So
cool.
that one's pretty cool. That one I really don't. He doesn't talk
I
either.
wish my dog had a persona. That'd be awesome.
He just throw fire at you whenever he felt like.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But yeah, no, that one's just a dog that doesn't even talk. So something like that would definitely be fine.
Yeah.
Just
I
not
do
another
think,
Teddy, I think is my
yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I do think something that's cool about the animal mascot, and the reason that I honestly like it is it's what makes it go from like reality to like the palaces, if that makes sense. Like it gives you a really good separation of that. Now, obviously the palaces are crazy and you see a castle versus a school, or you see, you know, like different things like that too. But it just is like another reminder that everything's real, you know.
Everything's bizarre.
Everything.
I also think from a gameplay standpoint, Mona, more so than Teddy, plays like a very specific gameplay role. And like Mona's the one that tells you what you can and can't do at certain times, basically. Or like reminds you where you need to go. Like instead of having the character like think or talk to themselves, which is a big, not the thinking one, but when characters talk to themselves in video games, it's a pet peeve of mine. But like Mona, just like if you, because like the example of this is like when you start off in the evening and you're in your room, if you see Mona sitting, that means you can only do stuff in Cafe LeBlanc, right? If you see Mona standing, that means you can leave and go wherever you want and do whatever. If Mona's laying down, you have to go to sleep. There's no other choice. And like it's one of those things where like, okay, that's kind of the point you serve in the game. That's why you're always with the protagonist, is you're like, hey, you can't do this right now. Go do this instead. And that's just kind of, it's a gameplay thing that is, well, I know a lot of people find it annoying, and yeah, it can be, but hey, it serves its purpose in the game.
Right.
So I think something like that would be fine too.
Yeah. Well, it's better than just going straight to bed in those scenarios, right? It's better to have someone be like, oh, you can't go downstairs, versus you feeling like it just a long passage of time each time, you know? So yeah, no, I think it has its place.
Yeah, I don't know. Let us know what you think about the animal mascots, because I don't know, maybe I'm being too hard on Teddy. Who knows? You'll understand when you play. Next, I want to talk about confidants versus social links. And I want to kind of explain the difference real quick for anyone who doesn't know. Confidants were the Persona 5 version of social links. And the biggest difference is that every confidant gives you additional abilities to use in the Persona using side of gameplay. While in the older games, social links didn't really do that. In Persona 4, your social links with your teammates would help them learn new moves and stuff like that in combat, and like would like protect your character if a fatal blow happened or whatever. But like Persona 5 took that to a whole nother level. Like people who aren't on your team, building up their relationship with them gives you stuff that helps you get stronger and gives you additional options. Like the teacher, the maid teacher, if you've maxed out her confidant, it gives you the ability to do stuff in the evening after going into Mementos or a palace, which without that very limits what you can do. It is one of the best features in the game. And yeah, so that's basically the biggest difference, is characters outside of your team give you abilities to use in the game, pretty much. I think it's great. I don't know if it's really a thing people have an issue with, but I think they should definitely keep going with that and try to be a little bit more creative with it. Because like Persona 5, some of the ways that they like make certain types of characters help you in like palaces and whatever was so interesting. Like, oh, here's a reporter. If you or no, what was the, yeah, I think it's the reporter where, hey, if you, at the start of this battle, you might randomly figure out one of the affinities for the enemies, you know, stuff like that. Like that was helpful. That was really cool. So I definitely think they should go with that. Another thing that's different, and I think it'd be kind of interesting if they would bring this back, it would stress me out. But social links, at least in Persona 3 and before, could reverse. Like if you don't spend time with them a certain amount of time, or if you pick the wrong dialogue option, your relationship with them would stall, right? They'd be mad at you, and you'd have to. I think in Persona 3, you had to go to a shrine and basically pray for your friendship to get fixed, and then you could go back to continuing that relationship. It's stressful, but I think it would add a lot, and you'd like have to pay a little bit more attention to who you're spending time with, and go out of your way to spend time with certain people. Otherwise, it's going to reverse, and it's going to be a pain in the ass.
Right. Well, it makes it where you can't just focus on one confidant, right? You couldn't just focus on one social link and just go after that. You'd have to be able to diversify
that
your
balance.
time. Yeah, which that would be really cool. So no, I love that idea. I think confidants for sure of having stuff that helps out in the game is very cool that Persona 5 did. I think they should definitely keep that, but I love that idea of like if you don't spend enough time, it could like backslide.
Could negatively affect your relationship.
Because like, oh, you haven't hung out with me in 25 days. Like, you know, like
well, now I'm mad at you. And you're like,
yeah,
crap.
Right.
Then like you have to do like the additional like, oh, now I have to spend one of my time slots fixing this relationship when I could be doing something else.
Totally.
So yeah, I think they should definitely bring that back. All right, we got two more.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of another gameplay one. Basically, how should the gameplay be divided up outside of the confidant building and whatever? We're talking about like the dungeons / palaces here. Should they do like Persona 5, where you have individual dungeons / palaces that once they're done you can't revisit, but you have one big dungeon / palace. I'm just gonna say dungeon. All right, just gonna say dungeon. You have one big dungeon that you can explore throughout the game and return to at any time, which is basically mementos. Or Persona 4 did something where like there was no one big dungeon, right? There's a bunch of little dungeons that you could return to at any time. They were all completely randomized, like the levels and what you would find in them and everything each time you went, like that. And then Persona 3 kind of just had the one big dungeon, and then like the big thing at the end of each month was you would go and you would fight like a boss basically, and you wouldn't really have to like, there were no other dungeons besides Tartarus, which was the big one. What do you think, Max? If I explained that well at all?
I think you did. I think you did. I mean, personally, I have played Persona 5, and so I'm going to probably lean more towards that than the other ones. But also, I like the idea of having individual dungeons because I think they're really cool and they're all super unique. Having just one big one is very cool. But for me, anyways, mementos got boring. As going through, it just got kind of like, like I just am trying to go as fast as I can to get through to the next big thing, And so personally, I loved having all the different dungeons to be able to go to. And I also liked the fact that there was a deadline. Like you have this deadline and you can't go back. So unlike Persona 4, where you can go back, really, I personally like that you can't necessarily just go back into, the castle because you've changed their heart, or something like that. So personally, I would probably lean more towards the Persona 5 kind of way that it divided it up. But again, I'm a little bit biased, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I think Persona 5 struck a good balance of having like the unique individual dungeons and the kind of big one where you can grind when you need to. Because like you kind of have to have something like mementos in Persona 5, because if you just have the palaces and then you beat the palace, you're kind of done personaing until the next palace, right? The next story thing. So I think that was very obviously why they included mementos. Shut up. And I think if they don't do it very similar to Persona 5, I think it'll be more in line with Persona 3. I don't see them going back to the Persona 3 thing, because it just it's not as good. And like, I think the fact that both Persona 4 and Persona 5 very clearly feature like individualized dungeons that like reflect the character that the dungeon is for in a way is neat. Like I love that aspect of it. And I think they do too, because like they took it from Persona 4 and kind of made it bigger with Persona 5. And in Persona 4, the ones you go to are for your teammates basically, because the once you save them from their dungeon, they join you. Persona 5 kind of did the opposite, where like, oh, we're going to the bad guys thing, and you can kind of see like this distorted thing. So maybe it'd be cool to do like a Persona 5 thing, but more with like the personal aspect of the Persona 4 thing. Sorry, too many Persona games. Where like it's a palace or whatever, but it's for not necessarily a bad guy, but like maybe your teammate, and it can help you understand them a little bit before you even start their social link / confidant. And yeah, maybe something. I do think something like Mementos or Tartarus is necessary. It's for leveling up and grinding, and you can do like side missions in that. All of the games have side missions that you do in the palaces / dungeons. So you need something that you can return to whenever you need to or want to. So I think something like Mementos has to be there. And then yeah, basically Persona 5. That's what I'm saying. And also, who knows? They could innovate it in a way that we don't even really see at this point.
Totally.
You know,
you could have it where they get linked, like certain palaces dungeons got linked based off of different relationships that you make, or relationships that the outside whoever has the palace makes. You know,
that'd be cool, because like one of the things about Tartarus is there's like, God, 180, 200 something floors or whatever. Like there's an insane amount of floors, and like, and this is a limitation of the hardware that these games were made on, but like the dungeons aren't super interesting in Persona 3 or Persona 4. Like they're very like, here's a different wall texture and stuff. So I think it'd be really interesting to have something like Tartarus that is like your palaces and your dungeons, but like you get to the end of one, and then like kind of in the way like more of Mementos would open up and more of Tartarus would open up when you beat a certain point in the game. A similar thing happened, but it's like the next palace or whatever that's more like like one of the palaces from Persona 5, but they're all connected. And like if you wanted to, you could go from like the beginning of the first palace to like the end of the final palace all in one go, kind of like a Mementos or a Tartarus. I think that'd be kind of neat.
Yeah.
It would kind of solve the problem. Well, I don't know if it would totally solve the problem, because then like, would you randomize it, or would you have like a set path? Like the palaces in Persona 5 never change. They are the exact same. Whereas in Persona 4 and Persona 3, every floor you go to it's completely randomized, like in terms of hallways, items, enemy locations. So like, how would you really do that at that point? Would you lose that entirely, which would kind of be a shame? Because I know Mementos for you got boring, but I think the random nature of it adds a lot to the gameplay and what you can do with it, you know, in terms of like, oh, I can level up and find items and whatever. If they do another thing like Mementos, do you think they should include the thing that they did in Persona 5 Royal, where you can kind of change Mementos and make it work for you better? Like, because like in Persona 5 Royal, you can unlock stars and give them the what's his name, Jose, whatever.
Jose, yeah,
and like
really
you make it
character,
so.
by the way.
Yeah, you fight
I still
him.
don't understand him. Really. What did you say?
You fight him?
No, I didn't.
You can fight him at the. I don't know if you can do it in the first playthrough, but at least in New Game Plus, you can fight him at the end. Okay. I absolutely demolished him because I was level 99 at the time. But yeah, no, I think Jose might play a role in Persona 6 based on some of the dialogue he says in that fight. I think it's entirely possible. Anyway, my point is, do you think they should do the thing where like, oh, you can make it so you earn more XP or you earn more money during your time in Mementos / Tartarus or whatever?
I think, I mean, I really liked it in the sense of like, it was really easy to level up then, and I never, like, for example, we talked about jobs earlier. I never got a job as my character. Why? Because I can just go to Mementos and just farm.
It's even better in New Game Plus because the stars carry over, so you don't like at the beginning of the game you're making extra XP for Mementos right away. Like,
oh, that's nuts.
I love it's not for everybody. but I love how overpowered you are in Persona 5 Royal New Game Plus. It's insane.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think maybe if they are going to do something like that, which I think they should, because I think it gives you more purpose when going to mementos. Like you said, you could just go to mementos. You could set it so that you're making more money, but getting less XP and less items or whatever. And then you make money, right? Or you're just trying to level up. So you increase XP. Or you're like, man, I really need some items for some crafting. Just real quick, our earlier thing about features that should continue, I think the crafting stuff for dungeons and whatever, that is one that they should keep doing. I really love the the tools, the whatever's, you know what I mean. Anyway, so yeah, I think they should do the royal thing for mementos or whatever, but maybe to a lesser extent where you're not way over level by the time you reach. And I think Royal did a good job with it because like that final palace is hard. Like you have to be like at least level 70 to stand a chance in that palace.
Totally.
But it is also way easier to level up. So maybe just
and
dial
then
it back a little bit.
If you do that too, money needs to be not as much, because like, for example, if you want, like, there were things about playing just Persona 5 and not playing Persona 5 Royal that I realized I didn't have money sometimes when I really needed it. I never felt that way in my playthrough with Persona 5 Royal.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And I think like even like maybe like by the time you're at the end game, like you're in like the last couple months of the game.
Sure.
If by then you're making a bunch of money while you're in there, sure, that's fine. Because like the whole point is you get stronger and you get better and things get easier. But like it just needs to be a little bit more balanced at the beginning of the game.
Totally.
And New Game Plus is a completely different thing because it's New Game Plus. But like the original story, I had the same thing. I think I ended my original Persona 5 Royal playthrough with like 3 million yen.
Yeah.
So like,
like it didn't matter. It was like, and then at one point it was like, I can't even afford to play baseball in Persona 5. I was like, geez, I got no money. I can't do anything tonight because I didn't have enough money, and stuff. And that's the difference. So
it makes stuff like the fortune teller in Persona 5 way more worth it too. Cause like, this is a really good ability, but it's expensive. But if you're making a whole bunch of money, it's like, oh, whatever. This is basically easy mode because I can pick all the right answers for my confidants.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Cool. All right, well, I think there was another thing I remembered but then forgot, but our last one, should they, in terms of scope and story, go bigger than Persona 5 or kind of dial it back story and scope wise like a Persona 4? What do you think? Where do they go story wise from here? Can they go bigger than Persona 5?
See, I don't think you can really go bigger than what the Phantom Thieves were. I mean, the entire world was affected and all of society was affected. All of people's hearts were affected. So
there are similar things in the other games, but bigger. I think Persona 5 is like Persona 5, that is the most in the spotlight the main casts have ever been in. Like the whole on the Jumbotron in Shibuya, like the Phantom Thieves leaving their color card for Shido. That is none of the other games have anything close to that. They're all smaller scale. Like you are saving the world in the other Persona games, but not on the scale that you like, not on the like public, not in the public eye like you are in Persona 5.
Yeah. But I don't think that will happen in Persona 6 because, I mean, going back to the theme was reforming society, and so to reform society, you have to have all of society involved in that. And so it really does go a lot to whatever that theme is, with it. But personally, I think it is going to be a more intimate scope of scale than what Persona 5 was. And I'm totally great with that. It doesn't have to be a world-changing event every instant.
I mean, we all know it's going to end with you fighting a god. But other than that, do you think they should do like a smaller town like Inaba from Persona 4, or stick to like a Tokyo, but maybe like a smaller part of Tokyo? Because like that's one of the cool things about Persona 5 is there's so many cool places you can go, even if it's just like to hang out with one of your friends for a little bit.
Well, and see,
that's
something you get in the other games. I like that. I like being able to go and do different things. Even like Persona 5 Royal added things like darts and billiards and, you know, like those little things. And I mean, they're little mini games that, you know, are like, okay,
They
like,
do have a point,
but
though.
they're fun. But yeah, but they're fun, you know, and it's one of those things where it's like,
love darts.
yeah. But like I think that it is cool to have those things, but I think you can go to a smaller scale in the sense of like Persona 5, like your town that you slept in didn't really have a lot going on. You know, I mean, like just in general, you always had to like travel a lot of the times to places. And I think it's good to have different places to travel to, but I think more stuff can happen in the city you're in, if that makes sense, and make your city a little bit bigger that you're in. And so
that's basically Persona 4. That's in about the main location of Persona 4. It's kind of like it is just a small town, and everything you do, I think you can go to like one little place of a big town that has like a movie theater and that's it. But everything else is like in the town, and it's very like it's a country setting.
Yeah.
Like a different from like American country, but like a Japanese country town setting is a very small thing. The biggest like landmark or a thing of interest they have is a famous hotel, and that's like it. So yeah, I think you're kind of right. And like they kind of have to go smaller. I mean, they could theoretically go bigger, but like for something like this, I don't think you really need to, because like I've said a couple times now, the biggest thing is the characters and the relationships you build with them. And I think it should be something like your actions do save the world. Like I think I'd be a little bit bummed. It's like, oh, I didn't, save the world by the end of it.
Right.
Or at least like save the town or whatever. Like
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I think you're right though. It'd be hard to go bigger. So I think the more intimate story would be fine. Or at least maybe stay on the same level as Persona 5. Maybe just without like the public aspect of it.
Yeah. I mean, even like the fact that the Pain of Thieves had a website, like I mean, they were promoting themselves, that was like
not themselves. That was what's his face? That one guy I don't like.
Mishima.
Yeah.
But it was like you were getting promoted essentially throughout it. And so even dialing it back in that sense where you're a little bit more like in the dark, where you're changing or you're saving the world, but not as popular or well known, Yeah. So
and like by the end of it, it's like nobody even really believes Phantom Thieves are real, or like half the people believe, half the people don't. But like still, they left like this huge mark on society as a whole, which the other games do, but you don't see it. Like the public doesn't see it.
Right. Yeah, we need more Batman, like
more
be like Batman.
Yeah.
In the dark.
I am vengeance. God, there was one more thing I was gonna add, and I cannot think of what it was. I got nothing. Man, that's gonna bug the hell out of me.
Is there anything like story-wise that you want like changed? So like for example, something that we kind of talked about is I would love having like two different like paths, right? Where like you could have the protagonist and it would like lead you into two different paths. And so I don't want to go on the rabbit trail of what I would want for that, but because I have own thoughts and own ideas of what it could be. But all I say is like I would love it where your decisions that you made actually made more of an impact throughout it, that it wasn't just a streamlined story. And I know to your point, it's already a really long game. And so it's like if you had branching paths on a really long game, it's like, wow. But like I think that it's really good replayability of what they have, but I sometimes can't put the time investment in to just play a Persona game, because once I start playing it, I will be hooked and I will not stop playing it.
I recently did that it took me like 6 days to get through Persona 5 Royal. That's with me having played Persona 5 twice and Persona 5 Royal once. It still took me like 80 hours to beat the game.
Yeah. And I love that, but at the same time, and that is something that's so great about the Persona games, but at the same time, I would love almost like you cut that down to like 60 hours, but then there's like a bunch of branching paths they can do. It makes the replayability even that much greater. And
there's more incentive to go back.
Exactly. And so that would be something that I'm sure a lot of Persona people would not like, but that I would want on there. So for example, is there anything like that you would want for Persona 6?
Not really. I don't know. I really like the way the Persona games kind of play out. I think over the last 3 games, the like social links and confidants have gotten better. This might be an unpopular opinion, but a lot of the like social links in Persona 3 suck. Like some of them I was like, I guess I'll hang out with you if I have to. The moon social link for sure is pretty terrible in every game. Because is it Mishima the moon?
Mishima, yeah.
Yeah.
Mishima.
Mishima. Like I can't pronounce Japanese names. All right, sue me.
Fair. It's fair.
I don't know. I think maybe having like how much the relationships build play a bigger part in the story. Because like I think if you pick the right options, you could still get like the best ending of Persona 4 and Persona 5 without really doing any of the confidants or social links in a lot of ways. Like you really don't have to get like the best ending. So maybe like if there was a little bit more incentive to do that, that'd be cool. Outside of like, oh, I can make stronger personas from it, which is great. Don't get me wrong. That's one of the things I love about the game is like the more I build this relationship, the more power I get as a Persona user. So like stuff like that. But like I think they should have a bigger impact on the story as a whole. This is kind of a little thing, but like be nice if like the game acknowledged the relationship you pick a little bit more than just like the set times you hang out with them. Like have everyone in your group acknowledge it so it feels more real. Because like I'm a Makoto fan all the way. I pick her like in most of my playthroughs. But like you don't really like nobody knows besides the two of you. Like the rest of the game doesn't acknowledge it on any level, pretty much. So like it's another one of those little things that I think would add a lot to it, where like it would make it feel more real and stuff like that.
Totally. No, I agree. I think that's actually a really good point. Because then it would make it feel like you're actually in a relationship. And then especially it would make it that much more awkward if you're one of those weirdos who says yes to multiple people.
Yeah, you're a bad person if you do that.
At least the game is aware of that and makes you feel bad for that, which is good.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot.
Another thing for Persona 6, don't do a bathhouse scene. Just don't. We don't need them. Persona 5 didn't have one. They put one in Strikers for some reason. Don't do it. Stop. And dude, I'm not even getting Persona 3, Persona 4, Persona 5 Strikers. There's a bathhouse scene. There's a mix-up. The guys end up in the bathhouse when the girls are in the bathhouse. It's, funny, I guess, maybe the first time you see it, but it plays out the exact same in every game. Don't do it, Atlus. Don't. We don't need it. They are underage. They are minors. Stop it. All right, sorry.
Back to where they should be college age.
If it's college age, if they're college age, it's fine. Have as many bathhouse scenes as you want.
Oh, cool. Well, do you have anything else to add?
No, I guess not. I can't think of what else.
That was like a frustrated no. That was like, no.
Because I know there was something I thought of, and I know like I'm gonna think of it later and be like, God dang it, I wanted that in the video. But I just can't. In terms of features they should add, did I mention this already? I don't know if I did in the video. I would like it if like the teammates you gain at the end of the game, you could use at the beginning of the game in New Game Plus. This is something you can do in Strikers. And it's something that like Persona 5 Royal really needed, I feel like, because like the two biggest teammate additions in the final, again, spoilers for Persona 5 Royal, are Kasumi and Akechi. And you don't really get to play with that version of Akechi and Kasumi until like the very last month of the game.
Yeah.
Like that is it. So it would just be either make it so like you get a full team earlier in the game, kind of like what they did like Persona 4. There's so much game after you get the last teammate that it doesn't really feel like a problem. Same thing with Persona 3. You have like a full team by like freaking August or something. So like do that, or let me carry over the team to New Game Plus. They don't have to interact with anybody during the dungeon whatevering, but just let me use them in combat is what I want.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do think for like, if looking at like Persona 5, that would have been really difficult with Akechi and Samira, like specifically because of the story that like it went
That's
on. Now,
what I mean,
Samira,
like,
they probably could have just added in, but Akechi, it
just
would have
don't.
been difficult to do that.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, that's why it would be a new game plus thing. Is like you've already played through the story. You already spoiler alert, whatever spoilers. You already know Akechi's a douchebag, right? So like you already know. So just having them there in combat, like they don't exist outside of the the battles, basically. Like they're there, but like they're not participating in the dialogue. They're not there for the cutscenes. It's what strikers did basically, because strikers you get a late game teammate that when you start a new game plus is there from the beginning that you can use in the fights and stuff. That's what I mean. Like
you can't necessarily have Akechi against Akechi. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, why
like
not?
when you're, that'd be kind of strange having Akechi against Akechi.
Yeah, but it's just like maybe just don't let you pick him for that one fight. Like, you know what I mean? Like there's ways around it.
Yeah, I get you. I'm vibing.
And like it's more so because again, Akechi you can use him in Sei's palace and Maruku's palace, but like it's mostly Kasumi. Like you get the one month with her, and
yeah, she's the one that it's like that one. I don't understand why you can't use her from the beginning, essentially.
Yeah. But like another solution would just be get a full team earlier in the game, like you do with Persona 3 and Persona 4, where like you get enough time playing with them that it doesn't feel like, oh well, I barely got to see any of this character in gameplay because it was a single month, you know?
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Okay. I think that was it. That was my big thing. That's probably, and this may be dumb, but that's probably my biggest ask for Persona 3 or Persona 6. I mean, I just think it'd be so cool to be able to use your full, and it's like Persona's one of those games where that's not really going to break progression at all. Because like you really only use your teammates for combat, and they don't really do much outside of that. So like just have them all there at the beginning. It'd be great. I think the exceptions would be maybe the navigator personas. Like you couldn't really have Futaba at the beginning. Although again, you also could, because who cares, you know? But
fair enough.
I do think that might have to be the exception. Would be like the Futaba or the Rize from Persona 4. Because they give you extra benefits in combat, but also you get them halfway through the game, so it won't really that much. So yeah, I don't know. That's been this video. It's been a long video. I feel like it's
been a long video, but that's what we want for Persona 6. Let us know down in the comments down below what you want. If you're still here, you obviously are a Persona fan, or you're a fan of Justin. So make sure to comment down below what you want in Persona 6. And do you have anything else to add?
No, I think one more thing, it'd just be like maybe a bigger demon / persona compendium, like a little bit more, because you get like having played 3, 4, and 5, you get a lot of the same. And I know Shin Megami Tensei games, they all feature the same demons with different redesigns or whatever. Maybe it's time to add some, you know?
Maybe, Atlas. Maybe.
And I think it would be kind of cool, like instead of DLC for like past personas, like maybe in Persona 6, via from like some super like specific fusion combination or whatever, you could make Arson or something, right? Or like maybe all the DLC personas are always the personas of protagonists. It would be kind of cool, even if it's just DLC, to have like the personas that other, like On's persona or Ryuju's persona that you could use in game. Maybe that's just me. I think that'd be kind of cool.
I think that'd be really cool.
So yeah, I again just went off another tangent there.
Comment down below what you want. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys next time.